At the age of 80, Mary Tyler Moore made a heartfelt confession. She spoke about 6 actors who held a very special place in her heart. These were not just people she worked with on screen. They were her comfort during tough times, her reason to smile, and her quiet support when life felt heavy. In a world full of fake friendships and short memories, these names stayed close to her soul. Her words were not about fame or glamour. They were about real connection, deep respect, and lifelong gratitude. It was not a list. It was her emotional truth. Before we dive into video, please subscribe to our channel. Mary Tyler Moore was known for her bright smile and strong presence on screen. People saw her as cheerful, elegant, and full of charm. But behind that image was a woman who went through many painful struggles in her personal life. She did not talk about it often, but her journey was filled with challenges that would break many people. One of the biggest battles Mary faced was with her health. At just 33 years old, she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, a serious condition that requires daily management. Back then, there was not as much awareness about diabetes as there is now. Mary had to quietly deal with painful symptoms, strict diets, and constant health risks, all while continuing to work in a demanding industry. It was not easy, but she never let it show. Her personal relationships also brought heartache. Mary went through 3 marriages in her life, each ending in separation. She tried to hold on, but the pressures of fame, work, and personal pain created distance between her and her partners. These breakups left her feeling lonely and emotionally drained, even when the world thought she was doing fine. Perhaps the most heartbreaking part of her story was the loss of her only son, Richie. In 1980, when Richie was just 24 years old, he died from a gunshot wound in WH. It was ruled a tragic accident. Mary was completely shattered. She often said that no pain could ever match the grief of losing a child. It was a wound that never fully healed. On top of all this, Mary struggled with alcohol addiction during some parts of her life. She admitted that there were times when she used alcohol to escape her sadness and pain. But with strength and support, she eventually fought her way back to sobriety. Throughout all these painful moments, Mary continued to work, smile, and inspire millions of people. But behind closed doors, she was a woman who carried a heavy heart. The world saw a star, but inside she was fighting silent battles every single day. Her difficult times shaped her. They made her strong, wise, and full of compassion. And in those moments of darkness, a few people helped her find light again, the actors she would never forget. Now we talk about 6 actors she loved the most. And why? Number 1, Dick Van Dyke. Dick Van Dyke was more than just Mary Tyler Moore's co-star. He was her friend, her support, and her reason to smile when everything felt like it was falling apart. The two first worked together on The Dick Van Dyke Show, where Mary played his wife Laura. Their chemistry was magical, and audiences loved them. But what people did not see was how much Dick helped Mary off-screen too. During the early years of her career, Mary was still learning, still growing. She was often nervous and unsure of herself. But Dick made her feel welcome. He would crack jokes, lift the mood, and remind her not to take things too seriously. Mary often said that working with Dick felt like working with joy itself. He treated her like an equal at a time when many women in the industry were not given that respect. He listened when she spoke. He encouraged her to try new things. He protected her when others tried to push her down. But the real magic of their friendship was seen during Mary's toughest times. When she was dealing with health issues or heartbreak, Dick would check on her. He would send her little notes, make her laugh, and remind her that she was strong. He never made her feel like a burden. Mary once said, "Dick Van Dyke gave me the gift of laughter when I had forgotten how to smile." That kind of support stays with a person forever. To her, Dick was not just a brilliant actor. He was a bright light in her life. Number 2, James Garner. James Garner held a very special place in Mary Tyler Moore's heart. Their bond was built on quiet understanding, kindness, and deep respect. Mary often spoke about how James had a calm presence that made everyone around him feel at ease. He was not loud or flashy. He did not seek attention. But whenever he walked into a room, people felt safe, including Mary. They worked together on a few projects, and every time, Mary admired him. His professionalism. He showed up on time, knew his lines, and treated everyone from the director to the assistants with the same level of respect. In an industry full of egos, James stood out for his humility. Mary was going through a difficult period in her life when they filmed together. Her personal struggles were weighing her down, but James never judged her. He did not ask too many questions. He simply listened when she needed to talk and sat in silence when she just needed someone nearby. That quiet support meant everything to her. She admired the way he balanced strength and softness. He could be tough when needed, but he also had a gentle heart. Mary once said, "James had this rare gift. He could look at you and make you feel like everything was going to be okay." He reminded her of the kind of man she wished she had in her life more often. Someone dependable, warm, and truly kind. He gave her peace during chaos. To Mary, James Garner was more than a co-actor. He was a silent shelter in the storm. Number 3. Robert Redford. Robert Redford was one of the few people in Hollywood who truly impressed Mary Tyler Moore, not just because of his talent, but because of his deep, quiet nature. Mary once described him as someone who spoke less, but meant more. He did not need big speeches or dramatic moments to be noticed. His calm energy, thoughtful eyes, and sincere presence said it all. They did not work together often, but the times they spent talking between scenes or at events stayed with Mary for years. She was drawn to his honesty. Robert never pretended to be something he was not. In an industry full of masks and performances, his authenticity stood out. Mary was at a point in her life when she was questioning many things: fame, love, and even herself. Talking to Robert gave her a strange sense of peace. He would listen with full attention, without trying to fix her problems or offer advice. Sometimes, all he said was, "That must be hard." And those simple words made her feel heard. She admired the way he carried himself. He did not chase the spotlight, but it always followed him. He made smart choices in his career, and he stayed grounded even when his fame skyrocketed. Mary respected that deeply. She once said, "Robert Redford reminded me that strength does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers." To Mary, Robert was like a quiet river, steady, deep, and full of meaning. He inspired her not just as an actor, but as a human being who stayed true to himself in every season of life. Number 4. Ted Knight. Ted Knight brought laughter into Mary Tyler Moore's life when she needed it most. Best known for playing the clueless but lovable news anchor Ted Baxter on The Mary Tyler Moore Show, Ted was a real-life comedian with a golden heart. While his on-screen character was silly and often the butt of the joke, off-screen, Ted was sharp, supportive, and deeply caring, especially toward Mary. During the filming of their show, Mary was privately struggling with personal losses and emotional ups and downs. Ted somehow always knew when she was not okay. Instead of asking too many questions, he would simply make her laugh. Not with forced jokes, but with genuine humor that came from knowing exactly what would lift her spirit. Mary admired Ted's ability to make people feel better without making a big deal about it. He had perfect timing, not just in comedy, but in kindness. He would sneak little notes into her script pages or pull harmless pranks just to make her smile. It worked every single time. What made Ted so special to Mary was his consistency. He was the same warm person on Monday morning as he was on Friday evening. He never let success change him. He respected everyone, treated crew members like family, and always made time for others. Mary once said, "Ted did not just play a funny man. He lived as one. He knew the healing power of laughter, and he gave it freely." In her darkest hours, Ted was her reason to giggle, even when tears were just below the surface. To Mary, he was not just a co-star. He was a daily reminder that even in pain, there is room for joy. Number 5. Ed Asner. Ed Asner was like a steady rock in Mary Tyler Moore's life. He played Lou Grant, her tough but lovable boss on The Mary Tyler Moore Show, and their on-screen relationship mirrored the real connection they shared off-screen. Ed had a gruff voice and a serious face, but Mary quickly learned that underneath that rough shell was one of the kindest souls she had ever known. During times when Mary felt lost or overwhelmed, Ed stepped in like a protective older brother, or, as she once put it, the father I never had. He had a way of grounding her, reminding her of her strength, and giving her the kind of guidance that came not from control, but from deep care. What Mary loved most about Ed was his honesty. He never sugarcoated things, but he also never used his words to hurt. He told the truth, even when it was hard, but always in a way that made her feel supported. If she was struggling with a scene, he would stay late to help her rehearse. If she was having a hard day personally, he would sit with her quietly, letting her know she was not alone. Ed also stood by her publicly. When critics got too harsh, or when the pressure of fame became too heavy, he defended her, not with grand speeches, but with firm loyalty and quiet strength. Mary once said, "Ed gave me the courage to keep going. He believed in me when I doubted myself." To her, Ed Asner was more than a co-star. He was a trusted anchor in a stormy sea, someone who reminded her again and again that she mattered. Number 6. Cloris Leachman. Cloris Leachman was Mary Tyler Moore's wild, unpredictable, and deeply loyal friend. On The Mary Tyler Moore Show, Cloris played Phyllis Lindstrom funny, bold, and full of personality. But off-screen, she was even more colorful, and Mary loved her for it. Cloris had a way of lighting up any room she walked into, not with polish or politeness, but with pure, unstoppable energy. Mary often said Cloris was the kind of friend who showed up without being asked. Whether it was a late-night phone call, a difficult day on set, or a personal crisis, Cloris never hesitated. She would knock on Mary's door, barge in, and say something outrageous just to get her to laugh, and it usually worked. What made their bond so special was honesty. Cloris never played pretend. She said what she felt raw, real, and sometimes too blunt, but Mary appreciated that. In a world where people often wore masks, Cloris was refreshingly real. She reminded Mary to stop trying to be perfect and to just be herself. They also shared memories filled with laughter, mischief, and sisterhood. From pulling pranks on set to sneaking out for late-night snacks, their friendship was full of life and joy. Even when they argued, they always came back stronger. Mary once said, "Cloris made me feel alive again. She made me laugh when nothing else could. She was chaos, but she was my chaos." To Mary, Cloris Leachman was not just a friend. She was a burst of sunshine in a world that often felt gray. She brought noise to the silence, laughter to the tears, and love that never faded. Mary Tyler Moore was more than just a television icon. She was a woman who faced life's hardest challenges with grace, courage, and a heart full of love. The 6 actors she named were not just co-stars. They were pieces of her journey, each one helping her through laughter, pain, and everything in between. Her story reminds us that even the strongest stars need light from others to shine. Now we want to hear from you. When did you first see Mary Tyler Moore on screen? Was it during her unforgettable role in The Mary Tyler Moore Show, or maybe her powerful performance in the movie Ordinary People? Tell us in the comments, what is your first memory of Mary?